Welcome back. We're back with the breaking news, conspiracy theories and efforts to undermine the FBI, seemingly led by Republican members of Congress. The conspiracy theories seem to be falling apart right now. Joining me to discuss this and much more, Senator Rob Portman, Republican of Ohio. Senator, good to see you. I know you want to talk about the opioid epidemic, and I do want to get to that. But before I do, I have to ask you about this. Sources now believe that the secret society text that was sent between these two FBI officials, it was a reference to a gag gift. Putin calendars given out to those working on the Russia investigation. What do you say to critics of both parties who are saying Republican office holders on Capitol Hill need to calm down and just stick to the facts here?
Well, I think both sides do. I think we got to rely on these investigations. I've supported the Mueller investigation from the start because we need to get to the bottom of this. I also think the Senate Intelligence Committee is doing good bipartisan work. I will say, Jake, I hope they report pretty soon because, I think the American people are looking for some answers here. But the underlying problem, recall, is that the Russians meddled in our election. We need to find out why they did it, how we avoid it in the future. And there's a broader problem here, which is they're doing the same thing with a lot of our allies, and they're trying to disrupt our alliances around the world. They're trying to undermine our institutions, and that's a serious issue. We got to get to the bottom of it.
It's a huge issue, but a lot of your colleagues, not you, but a lot of your colleagues have been spending a lot of time and a lot of capital trying to undermine the Mueller investigation, not just oversight, which is of course fine, and not just criticism, which is of course appropriate, but conspiracy theories and impugning the integrity of the entire FBI and of Robert Mueller, who you support. That must bother you.
Well, yeah, in terms of these more recent allegations, let's let the FBI look into these allegations of misconduct. It is clear to me that some of the people involved, some of the prosecutors, had strong political beliefs. The question is, did they allow those political beliefs to influence their work? If they did, it's good they were booted, one, and Mueller took steps, as I understand it, to at least relieve one of them of his duties. But second, we need to know about that. But that's something the FBI ought to investigate. I'm sure that Jeff Sessions and the Justice Department would be very interested in doing that. So I just think we got to kick this back into the process and allow the American people to see a thoughtful, nonpartisan report on this.
So take a listen to President Trump in this impromptu conversation with reporters. He was asked about collusion. He dismissed the Russia investigation.
But I can tell you, there's no collusion. I couldn't have cared less about Russians having to do with my campaign.
Let's pause it for the sake of argument. There was no collusion. We still know that, as you say, the intelligence community asserts Russians interfered in the election. We know that Russians reached out to a Trump campaign aide. We know that Russians reached out to the president's son, Don Jr. Are you concerned that President Trump doesn't take this seriously enough?
Well, as I've said in the past, I think he's being too defensive. In other words, I think he does not believe there's been any collusion. And by the way, I've seen no evidence of collusion either. I don't think any of us have. Let's allow these investigations to go through and have the facts go where they may. But so he is responding to some on the other side who are claiming collusion without any evidence. So yeah, he's going to push back and say, I was there was no collusion. But again, let's allow these reports to be completed. Let's allow the Senate Intelligence Committee to do its work, which is more focused on the Russia threat. Let's allow the FBI and the special counsel to do their work. My understanding is he has offered to speak with the special counsel. I think that's a positive development. And, I hope we can, again, have these reports come out sooner rather than later.
Turning to the opioid epidemic, which is, of course, a huge issue in your home state of Ohio, where the health department estimates that today alone some 8 Ohioans will die because of the opioid epidemic. This week, Democratic former Congressman Patrick Kennedy, who's on the president's opioid commission, he told CNN that the president's, quote, emergency declaration has accomplished little because there's no funding behind it. You can't expect to stem the tide of a public health crisis that's claiming over 64,000 lives a year without putting your money where your mouth is. Is he right, and what more needs to be done?
Well, sure, we need to do more, but we've actually done a lot in terms of funding and changing some laws already. As you know, I'm the co-author of the Comprehensive Addiction and Recovery Act, which has put more money against this problem, but more importantly, it's put it towards evidence-based things that are actually working in terms of treatment and recovery and even prevention. Hundreds of millions of dollars more was spent this year than last year, but we got to do it again. We got to actually up the spending further because the crisis has not abated. It's gotten worse, not better, Jake. In my home state of Ohio, we had more overdoses this last year, we believe, than the previous year. And our biggest problem in Ohio now is not heroin, it's this synthetic opioid. It's coming in through the United States mail system. That's what our report was on. It was issued last night and our hearing was on today. It is outrageous to me that as a government we're not pushing back more on that. We know for a fact that this opioid problem is being made much worse by synthetic heroin made in China, shipped through our mail system. to our citizens' houses. And we traced this. We came up with really a shocking report last night showing how this is happening, how easy it is to buy the stuff, and how the U.S. mail system is being used as the conduit.
All right, keep up the work on that important topic, Senator. Thank you so much for your
Thanks,
time.
Jake.
Appreciate it.